right, you guys, to continue on with section 1.5, as I mentioned, I want you to work on those on your own, and we'll talk about them more in class if you have any specific questions. Going down here with more notes that we have, and I've already pretty much, with vertical angles, told you exactly what that means, as you can see, and we haven't talked about this too much, so let's emphasize this again. And if you can see it very good here, and we know that vertical angles are non-adjacent, means they are not next to each other. Okay. The other thing that we know about vertical angles is that they are congruent to each other. Okay, those are the biggest thing. And again, in the book, it says here, as far as that, it says, what is the definition again? It says, are two non-adjacent angles formed by two intersecting lines. Okay, two non-adjacent angles, not next to each other. And they are congruent to each other. So in these symbols right here, as you can see there, and it's hard to see, maybe I should zoom in, that doesn't look too bad here. As you can see, there are markings on here that signify that this angle has one arc and this one has an arc. That signifies, when you see that without anything else, that we know that they are going to be congruent to each other. Then on the other one, you can see here that it has two markings right there. Okay. So if that has two markings and this one also has two markings, that means that those two are going to be congruent to each other. So we could write this as this, and we could do that. We can go angle A, B, and D is congruent to angle C, B, and E. I wanted you to notice something that I put in here too, is that the middle letter again is the vertex that we're dealing with here, okay? And that means we can go the other direction, and we said that angle ABC is congruent to angle DBE, okay? Again, in the middle is our vertex that we talk about all the time. That's important to do that. Okay, all right. So let's go back down and zoom back out. See if it dealt wrong way. Now, something we haven't talked about before yet, and we're talking about complementary. When you compliment somebody, that means you're giving them a nice gesture or saying something nice about them. So complementary angles, as it shows in the picture, which it shows here completely, is that two angles, and as the book calls it, it says, are two angles with measures that have a sum of 90 degrees. So two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. So basically what it's saying is angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees. Okay? So when we add these up, that makes that work. Now notice that these two, in this case, are adjacent to each other. In complementary angles, they do not have to be complementary or adjacent to each other. As you see in this example here, they're not connected at all. But if I were to add them up, 65 and 25, they would together equal 90 degrees. So it does not. They do not have to be connecting like we talked about before with a straight angle or a linear pair or any of this kind of stuff too. So chances are, if we said this one is 60 degrees, that means this one has to be 30 degrees because they have to add up to be, again, 90 degrees. Okay? Hope that makes sense here on that one. Okay? Now, we've already talked about this a little bit already in regards to supplementary angles. Okay? Supplementary angles, again, we mentioned earlier, and that's why I said earlier, is that they together equal 180 degrees. Again, notice all this right here is a straight angle. So we can also call this a straight angle. again, equals 180 degrees. We can also call this one a linear pair, again, because they equal 180 degrees. Now, notice that this one is considered to be a linear pair, but these two are not. The reason why this one is a linear pair is because they are adjacent to each other. Remember, that's the key word. These ones have to be adjacent, okay? Whereas opposed to these ones, we cannot call a linear pair because they are not next to each other. Again, same scenario. If I wanted to, I call this one 20 degrees. And again, we know this whole thing equals 180, so that means this one's going to be 160 degrees there. So again, emphasizing if I were to draw an arc through this whole thing, which is at basically a half circle or a semicircle, we can say that that equals 180 degrees. Okay? Now the other thing we could sit there and say that we can go angle 3 is supplementary to angle 4, and we can sit there and say angle P, because that's what that one is supplementary to angle Q. Okay? Or are supplementary together. Okay? All right. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one, is because we've already talked about it quite a bit. A linear pair, again, is what? They have to be adjacent. They have to share a common ray. Okay? And they also have to equal 180 degrees. So again, if I draw a semicircle in here, that means that equals 180 degrees. And if I were to add the two up, we could sit there and call this one 50 degrees on this side for angle 2. And we can call this one 130 degrees. How would we write that? We could sit there and say that it's a linear pair, so we could sit there and say angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. And we can also call this again what? Supplementary angles, that's a symbol for that. Or we can call that a straight angle again, okay, for that too. Okay? All right, let's go down to our guided practice here. It says find the measures of two supplementary angles if the measures of one angle is 6 less than 5 times the measure of the other side. Holy cow. So a key word in here that we ought to make sure we all know is this right here. And I would circle it. So that means we know that it's going to equal 180 degrees. Now, going back again and talking about written algebra, here's what one of them says. If the measures of one angle is 6 less than 5 times the measure of the other angle. Okay, now, so the best thing I tell you guys always do is let's draw a picture. Okay, let's draw a picture. So I'm going to draw a straight angle. And then I'm just going to randomly, it doesn't matter how, I'm just going to draw another one here so that we know that they're supplementary, that they are. So we know that the whole thing is going to equal 180 degrees. Now it says that one angle is 6 less than 5 times the measure of the other angle. So that means automatically when we see something like that, we can label one of them already as X. Okay, so we'll call that one X. Now, that means that we need to label the other one as what? I'm trying to look here, make sure I get my notes here. So we have 6 less than 5 times the measure of the other angle. So how we're going to write this? We're going to go 5x, because we got to take it and times it by 5 because it says it's 5 times, and then we're going to subtract 6 from it. Okay? Because it means it's less than 5x minus 6, if you guys can see how that works. Now, once we got that all set up, we know that this whole thing is going to add up to be, and let's write it over here, x, this is this second angle, we're going to go plus 5x minus 6, and equals 180 degrees. Okay, so now we've got to do our algebra. Common, so we get 6x minus 6 equals 180 degrees. We add 6 to both sides. Gives us 6x equals 186. Now with a calculator, whoops, I don't know if you guys see that on the screen or not. Okay, 6x equals 186. Let's grab out our calculator, see how we're doing here. We're going to go 186 divided by 6 equals x equals 31. Okay. Now it says find the measures of the two, it says find the measures of the two supplementary angles. We're not done yet. So we know that this one's going to equal 31 degrees. That's our answer to that one. Now we got to take 31 and we're going to go 5 times 31 minus 6. And we're going to go ahead and take that. So take that times by 5 equals, gives you 155. We're going to minus 6 equals 149. Now, what other way could I have done that so I can get 149 as my final answer? What I could have done is say, once I found 31, I could have subtracted it. I could have gone 180 minus 31, and that should equal 149 degrees for the second one. So that works on that one too. Okay? All right, any questions on those? Let's turn the page and see what we got here. Okay, it asks for your turn at the top. Okay, sorry, moving around here. And then it talks about what we want to do here with perpendicular. Okay, so let's move down here, perpendicular lines. And we've already talked about a symbol in here. Can anybody recognize what that symbol is? Okay, symbolism is right here, which means that that is a right angle. Okay, right angle. That means if that is a right angle, that means this equals 90 degrees. The rule is, and it says in the book here, it says perpendicular lines intersect to form 4 right angles. So when we have 2 lines that intersect, they have 4 right angles. Okay, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and that is number 4. Okay, perpendicular lines intersect to form congruent adjacent angles. Okay, perpendicular lines intersect to form congruent adjacent angles. Remember what congruent means? That they're equal to each other. So if this one's 90, this is 90. This one is also 90, and that one's also 90. That's what it says. Okay. The right angle symbol in the symbol indicates that the lines are perpendicular. So there's a symbol for perpendicular. Okay. Here's our symbol. It's an upside down capital T. Okay. That's our symbol. So we could sit there and say that we're going to say AD, which is our line, and we're going to say that it is perpendicular to CB. Okay, does that make sense on that? Okay? Alrighty. Well, we're going to stop there because we've got to go on to part 3 of this stuff because we are not quite done. We have about a page left after this one, okay? So we have to go part 3 for this part.